Mars enters Leo, November 3rd, 2024. Action, passion, brave leadership, heroism, fierce competition, chivalry lives. Hello, my name is Eliane Nicole. I'm your astrologer and tarot reader, and in this video, I am going to talk about the transit of Mars in Leo, part 1, because this is actually a long storyline that extends all the way into the spring and summer of 2025, because Mars is going retrograde this year. Mars retrograde only happens every 2 years, so it's much less common than, say, Mercury retrograde, which we're all very familiar with because it happens about 3 times a year. So Mars retrograde is more rare, and in many ways that makes it a lot more impactful. And I'm going to talk more about that in this video, which is a part 1. But before I go on with the translation of Mars in Leo, I want to say, if you're watching on Instagram, I'm only going to post the first 5 minutes here. The entire video will be available on my YouTube channel, Eliane Nicole. My YouTube channel is my name, Eliane Nicole, so please find me there. I will put a link in the profile bio of Instagram to get there. If you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure that you subscribe to my channel. Please hit the notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video. Please like, please comment, please share. All of these interactions help me in the algorithm. It helps me grow my community, helps me grow my channel, helps me grow my business, and puts me in a position to continue to deliver these free astrological offerings. If you're watching this on Instagram, please make sure that you are following astrology.tarot.Eliane Nicole. Please like, please comment, please share. Help me out in the algorithm. It's free for you and very helpful to me. And now, without further ado, I'm going to talk about this very exciting, fiery transit of Mars in the sign of Leo. And Mars stepping into Leo from Cancer is a step up in dignity for Mars. Mars is the god of war, so he tends to get a bad rap in astrology. In our personal charts, Mars rules things like our drive, how we go for our goals. He also rules our sex drive. He also rules how we fight. Sometimes he rules our relationships to cars and, transportation. But Mars also has to do with certain weapons like guns and knives. Mars rules blood. Mars rules cuts and scrapes and burns. Mars has a lot to do with heat and fire. Mars rules competition in people. Mars is athletes. He's police. He's military people, soldiers, warriors. But Mars is also surgeons. Mars has a spectrum of representations in people, places, things, and concepts, but you see it's all in this kinds of general area. In the body, Mars is our muscles. He is, so Mars is all of these things. And when he's in Leo, he's in the sign that is ruled by the sun. And so Leo has a lot to do with leadership and legacy and, performance, creativity, creative self-expression. And so Mars in Leo is driven in these areas of like leadership and creativity. And, Mars in Leo has the presence of a king or a queen. People who have Mars and Leo in their chart often exude a certain kind of royal presence and a certain kind of confidence. What do I want to say? So Mars has been in Cancer, and if you follow my astrology, you know that Mars is debilitated in Cancer because Cancer rules things like mothers and home and safety and security. So having the god of war in the sign that deals with those topics, there's a tension, there's a difficulty there for Mars. So Mars is much more comfortable in Leo. And so once he steps into Leo, it's almost like we're going from a place of being in our feelings or our intuition about certain things to kind of acting on those things and driving forward with bravery and courage to deal with those things. You know, right before Mars entered Leo, he was at 29 degrees of Cancer, which is the most difficult degree of Cancer, in opposition with Pluto, the god of the underworld. And so, you know, Mars is facing these oppositional forces. And now in Leo, even though it's difficult, he's prepared. He has the bravery and the courage to act upon these oppositional forces. And that's how he enters Leo. He also enters Leo in a trine with Mercury, who just entered Sagittarius. And so they are going from the water trine at the last degrees of Scorpio and Cancer, where they have cultivated this emotional intelligence and this emotional maturity, and they have these very strong instincts about possibly what's going on. And now they're prepared to act on these instincts once they get into the fire element of Sagittarius and Leo. So this is really about action. There's a lot of action here. That's another thing. One of the good sides of Mars, aside from being the god of war, on the good side, he's an advocate. He advocates, and he's an activist, you know. And so this is calling for brave, courageous, fiery action and enthusiastic action at this time. Now, if you have any planets in the early degrees of any of the fire signs in your natal chart, this first chapter of Mars in Leo that goes from November 3rd to December 6th is going to be a time where you are probably going to be making huge advances towards your goal, towards your desired goal. This is kind of like just the fire under your ass that you need to make these really, you know, wonderful strides towards your goal. Now, if you have planets in the early degrees of fixed signs like Taurus or Scorpio, you might be finding challenges towards your goal. And that, you know, but still this Leo presence is like creating kind of like the courage it takes to face the challenges to achieve our goal, the courage and the energy that it takes to face the challenges. And if you have planets in the early degrees of Aquarius, you might find that people are actually trying to block you or say no to what your desires are. But again, you know, there's still this energy and courage to go for what you want because of Mars and Leo. So yeah, early Aquarius people will be facing much more oppositional circumstances here. Now, let's see, I wanted to talk about the general qualities of Mars, which I think I did. The general qualities of Leo. Leo is the leader, Leo is the king or the queen. Leo can be the child at times, or the teenager, the adolescent. Leo is also the performer. So these types of people, these types of topics are going to be where all the action is here, you know? And if you want to know where it's happening in your personal chart, you have to look at the house that Leo rules in your personal chart. If you're not sure about that, contact me for a reading and I will walk you through it. But that area of real estate in your chart is really going to it's going to be lit up with a lot of action and a lot of energy between November 3rd to December 6th. And then it's going to come back around this same area, these same topics, these same themes, whatever you're dealing with. It comes back around in the spring until the summer, because Leo will re-enter Leo. Mars will re-enter Leo April 17th and be there until June 17th. So, but I'm taking it apart into sections, and for now I'm going to focus on the November 3rd to December 6th storyline. But you might want to journal and take note of what the themes are that are being ignited during this time, because they're They're coming back in 2025, and they will be carried all the way through. You know, this year there's a sense of like we're going forward towards these goals, but then December 6th, Mars stations and turns around to go back, and he has to clean up some things in Cancer before he can really move forward all the way that he wants to in Leo. So, yeah. While Mars is in Leo, we are driven to accomplish our goals and receive praise. The shadow side of Mars in Leo is a show-off, a braggart, you know, performative in nature. And there's two distinct phases of this part one, because there's the part where the sun is in Scorpio, and then there's the part where the sun is in Sagittarius. And those, you know, you always have to look, when Mars is in Leo, you have to look at where the sun is and the condition of the sun to really understand how Mars is functioning. And when the sun is in Scorpio, it's a little bit of a mixed bag, because Scorpio and Leo, they square each other. But they're also, because Mars is Scorpio's natural ruler and the sun is Leo's natural ruler, they're in mutual reception. So they're working together. So basically, in translation, what that means is that the god of war, so I think like the head of the military and the head of the police, are working together with the leadership. They're strategizing a plan. So now I'm kind of going into collective talk here, and this makes me think about the election. And I feel like the heads of the military and the heads of the police departments are working with the leadership about how they're going to handle what the results of the election are and how people are reacting to that. And it looks like there may be some differences in approach, but they're still working together. I think that Scorpio energy tends to want to be more stealth and undercover and secretive, whereas Leo energy wants to be in your face and performative and really assert the power in a loud and proud way. So that might be where the differing in strategy is happening, and strategic like ideas. So there may be a little conflict there between them, but they're still working together in mutual reception. Now, when the sun moves into Sagittarius, November 21st, Sagittarius sun with Leo and Mars are going to be in more agreement, and they are going to want to be very loud and showy about their presentation of power and their vision. And so the flavor is going to change. And yeah, that automatically took me into talking about the collective. In our personal lives, you may still find similar themes. So in our personal lives, solar figures aren't the president or the king, but they might be the father or the boss, the coach. And, you know, Mars in our personal lives is brothers, it's men, it is, you know, things like that. So you can see it, you know, but again, Mars is athletics, Mars is surgeries, Mars is, you know, how we fight, Mars can be your car, you know, so that's where the differing strategies can come in our personal lives. And then you see that by the time the 21st comes, now we're bringing in the area of your chart that's ruled by Sagittarius with Mars, and there's more of a drive forward, an agreement. So you kind of really have to know your own astrology to know how it will function for you personally, but I'm just kind of giving the broad strokes. Now, I want to talk about a couple of the exciting aspects. On November 22nd, Mars will be in a trine with the North Node in Aries. This is happening at around 4 to 5 degrees. If you have any planets at 4 to 5 degrees of any of the fire signs, this is a huge win. This is a huge victory. And if you on the 26th to 27th, the fire trine is forming, because on the 27th, there's a trine with the sun in Sagittarius. So this is a lot of action. This is a lot of enthusiasm. This is a lot of energy, a lot of warmth, a lot of vitality, a lot of inspiration. Again, if you have planets in the early degrees, around 4 or 5 degrees of Leo, Sagittarius, or Aries, this looks like a huge win, a huge victory. But when there's a victory, sometimes when there's a winner, there's a loser. The losers are going to be more in the early degrees of Scorpio or Taurus. In this particular alignment, there may be, or the early degrees of Aquarius, there may be a loss with a silver lining. But the fire signs are definitely winning. And, you know, people who have signs in the early air have planets in the early degrees of the air signs, like Libra, Gemini. They could be experiencing a win as well, or there's an opportunity for a win that's ahead for them, even though it may not be happening right at this time. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Mars and Leo with Kamala and Donald Trump, because interestingly enough, they both have Mars and Leo in their natal charts. Donald has Mars and Leo at the 29th degree, and it's right on his ascendant. So Mars and Leo is very personal to him. And so the Mars and Leo transit is going to be telling us a lot about what's happening with Donald Trump. Now, Kamala also has Mars and Leo in her chart, but it's at 21 degrees and it's in her 3rd house. And the 3rd house has more to do with her environment, her siblings, you know, short trips, travel, you know, education, her neighborhood, her community. So it operates, the energy is in different places in their chart, but they both have Mars and Leo. Hers is 21 degrees, his is 29 degrees. This first patch of Mars and Leo is more in the early degrees, so neither of them are quite having their Mars return yet, although they will both be having a Mars return in 2025. This is why, you know, well, for one, I want to go back and review how I was talking about Mars and Leo people. They tend to get what they want in life. They know how to achieve their goals. They appreciate the praise for working towards their goals and achieving them. They have a regal presence. They have leadership qualities, king-like, queen-like qualities. You see that in both Donald Trump and Kamala. I also want to say one of the reasons that it's been very difficult for astrologers to predict who's winning, we don't see just like this clear winner. In a way, it looks like they both win because they both have really strong personal astrology going on with the transits that are happening. For instance, they both have Mars in Leo, and Mars is having its retrograde in Leo this year. So Mars is having this really significant storyline in the sign of Leo from November until June of next year. June of 2025, November 2024 to June of 2025. Both Donald and Kamala were born on full moons, you know, and so that's why in many ways I expect that we may not get the result of the election until the full moon of Taurus, November 15th. I think we might have to count and recount or whatever, because you've also got Mercury going into Sagittarius and its detriment. Mercury is the vote counter. Mercury is accounting. Mercury is, you know, and Mercury is in the pre-shadow of retrograde from beginning November 6th. So in his detriment. Anyway, it looks like there's some chaos and confusion there. The other thing is that Kamala and Donald both have strong Gemini energy. The North Node, Jupiter in Gemini, is conjunct Donald's natal North Node and Sun conjunction during the election. This is why it really looks like he's going to win. To me, I hate to say it. I don't want that to be the case, but that's what it looks like. Mars and Leo in his first house looks very victorious personally, plus Jupiter on his North Node. Kamala has her rising and North Node in Gemini at 24 and 27. So it's like Jupiter almost got there, but turned around and went the other direction and is sitting right on top of Donald's Jupiter North Node at the election. When I look at what's going on in the media, it looks to me like Kamala is winning. I personally would rather that she win than Donald, but I'm just talking about what I see in the astrology. Anyway, I digress. This is more about Mars in Leo right now. Mars in Leo from November 3rd to December 6th before Mars turns around to go retrograde. So we're going to have Mars in Leo retrograde at the same time as Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius. So there does look like there is a fight, demand for a recount, things like that that will be going on as both Mars and Mercury are going retrograde in November and then December. So we have a lot to look forward to after the election. The results are definitely going to be contested. And it's also interesting that Mars goes back into Cancer from Leo on January 6th, which is an anniversary that is very significant historically in America. And Mars goes from 0 Leo to 29 degrees Cancer on that day, the worst degree of Cancer, the most honorary degree of Cancer, back into issues of homeland security, nationalism, all of these things that Cancer represents on a collective level. And also a thing to note is that right before Mars enters Leo, he's in the opposition with Pluto, god of the underworld. That aspect will happen 2 more times. The first time it's Cancer Capricorn axis, which is the system and the government and the institutions and the patriarchy versus homeland security and mothers and families and all of that type of stuff. The next 2 times, early January and then again in April, at the end of April, it's happening at 0 degrees, Pluto at 0 degrees Aquarius, the beginning of the new world, and Mars at 0 degrees Leo. And so it looks like it is the people against the leadership in a strong opposition. There is going to be, there's revolutionary tones to this. And this is fighting for the future is what's happening. Brave, courageous activism and fighting for the future at the next 2 oppositions of Mars versus Pluto. So you can kind of see how things are unfolding from the results of the election, regardless of who wins, that's the thing. Astrologers can't exactly say who's going to win. I know everyone has their view of who's going to win, and it looks so close, but to me it looks like Donnie pulls it out. I hate to say it. But, other astrologers have said things differently, but what we all agree on, and what it doesn't even take an astrologer to tell you really, is that the results are going to be contested, and we're going to be fighting for it. And either way, we're heading towards some kind of revolution, it looks like, certainly within America. And so, but that happens more next year. And again, this is just part 1. I just wanted to talk about mainly the transit of Mars in Leo for this first chapter of November 3rd to December 6th. I will come back and do a video about the retrograde from December 6th to the beginning of January 6th. So yeah, this is part 1. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments and I will answer them. If you want me to look at where Mars and Leo is happening in your chart, this is personally can be a very invigorating, energizing transit to make really, great strides towards goals and desires in our personal lives, even though there may be mayhem in the collective with what's going on with the election. And there's an opportunity to, fight for what it is that we want and to be brave and to advocate for others as well. And so, you know, there's good stuff, you know, things aren't black and white, you know, the world is a shit show, but life is beautiful. And we can work with the astrology to co-create the future as this new world is being born. And that is it for now. Thank you for joining me. Please contact me for a reading. I will put the link to book a reading with me in the notes. I would love to read for you. It's my passion, it's my joy, and everyone should have their birth chart done at least once in their life. I read on Zoom, so I can read for people anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. I have really cute gift certificates, digital gift certificates available. So it's a great Christmas gift, a great holiday gift. It's unique, it's interesting, it's something people wouldn't maybe normally get for themselves. So if you're looking for a creative, interesting gift for friends, definitely book, give them a reading gift certificate. And you know, I can just do like a luckiest days of 2025 reading for them and just tell them all the best days of the year for them, you know, and just keep it very positive and upbeat. Some people want to know the good, the bad, and the ugly. I can do those kinds of readings too. I can, you know, whatever works for the person who wants to give the gift. If you want to, you know, do that, I would love that. And yeah, so that is that's it for now. Thank you for joining me, and stay tuned for more videos.